So, you've decided to sell your company, but you're not really sure how to go about it. Well, the good news is there's plenty of companies that can help you sell your business. And these range from buy and sell platforms right up to, white glove M&A brokers. So the two companies I've looked at in today's video, they're Flippa and Acquire. They're two on the kind of the buy and sell platform side. They don't really offer that white glove brokerage service. They're not going to walk you through every aspect of the process, but they do help you with certain aspects of it, and they do provide access to a really broad and deep pool of potential buyers. So in this video, I'm going to look at each of these companies under a set of headings and kind of see which one performs best under which heading, and kind of make some ultimate recommendations for you depending on where you're at with your business and your sale and all of that kind of thing. And I look at some alternatives as well, just in case neither Flippa or Acquire is exactly what you need. So we're going to start by looking at Flippa. So this is its homepage here, and as you can see, it's, by its own words, the #1 platform to buy and sell domains or online businesses or whatever other kind of company you're selling. It does sell pretty much all types of companies right across the board, and it's really a leading presence in this space. It's been around since 2009. It boasts 3 million active users, and it has gotten a huge volume of deals done. It's very much the eBay of this space, I would say. Buyers and sellers really are left to their own devices when it comes to making deals. And as we'll see as the video goes on, there are pluses and minuses to this. There are advantages and drawbacks. So here we have Acquire. Now, Acquire hasn't been around quite as long, and it hasn't grown to the same size as Flippa, but it is still quite a large marketplace. So as you can see here, it has over 500,000 active users. They're all potential buyers. And also, you will find that the kind of average user on Acquire is a little bit more experienced. There's a little bit more vetting that goes into the registration process. And so you're kind of dealing with a higher value pool of potential buyers, even though the pool is significantly smaller. And so the first factor we're going to be using to kind of compare Flippa and Acquire is price. And obviously price is very important when you're looking at any kind of business transaction. There are significant differences here, right? And Flippa typically, right, is going to work out more expensive, which is a little bit mad considering it is it's the lower service option. Like, it's giving you less for your money than Acquire, and it actually is charging you more. And another difficulty I have with Flippa in this way is that its pricing is actually kind of difficult to wrap your head around. As you can see here, there's a success fee and a listing fee. The success fee will slide depending on your the price of your business. So obviously the more expensive it is, the higher the success fee will be. It starts at 10 and it slides the whole way down to 5 for anything over $50 million. And then also there are packages with relation to your listing fee. So the basic standard tier will set you back $199 for a one-time listing. That's good for 6 months. They're all good for 6 months. And that's the very basic Flippa kind of package. The premium tier, then you'll get a little bit more in terms of AI matching, email and phone support, a little bit more marketing and help with the NDA side of things. And then if you go with the M&A broker package, you get all of this, and you also get a broker to help you as well. Now, this is kind of a departure from the typical Flippa business model, and I'll cover this in more detail later. It is usually quite a DIY platform, or has historically been, and this is kind of a new thing. So I'm not exactly sure how effective it might be compared to a more specialized broker service, but it is an option now. It's something to consider. So with Acquire, then, it does have the kind of the double pricing structure that Flippa has, in terms of there's a listing fee and then there's a success fee as well that comes as a percentage out of your sale price. And again, that percentage does drop as you go up in value. Although the listing fee does actually go up as you increase in value, and it's a monthly fee. So it's $25 per month at the most basic level and $100 per month then at the top level. This typically is going to work out quite a bit cheaper than Flippa. As you can see, it starts at 8%, whereas Flippa starts at 10%. So especially if you're in that kind of small to mid-size bracket, you're going to save a good few dollars with Acquire. So the next category we're going to be looking at is reach. And now this really is where Flippa shines. Its reach is absolutely huge. As you can see here, it's got 400,000 plus weekly buyers. It also has a multilingual broker network if you're looking to sell a business, in a different country or something like that, or it has relevance perhaps to other jurisdictions. That might be an advantage. And then the big thing also is that you can see it here in the third point, it's 50% faster sales cycles. Because they have such a big buyer pool, it's easier for sellers to find appropriate buyers just because of the sheer number of buyers out there. Then with Acquire, the reach with Acquire, it isn't there to the same extent as it is with Flippa. I mean, they really do focus on vetting that bit more. So the buyers you reach, they are going to be vetted and they're going to be qualified. But in terms of sheer volume, you can't really compete with Flippa when it comes to reach. They're just out by themselves in this industry. So level of service then is the next thing we're looking at. And here, as I was saying, Flippa do kind of offer a menu now when it comes to the level of service you want. You can still go with the basic standard tier, but there's also that M&A broker tier where you're going to get that kind of, that personal service that's going to help you with your sale. As I was saying, it's quite a new departure for Flippa. It does kind of remain to be seen how successful it will be. But typically the standard tier on Flippa is kind of, as I was saying, the eBay of business sale. You're going to be dealing with the buyer yourself a lot. You're going to be doing your own due diligence and looking into their financials and making sure they're not scammers and all that kind of thing. A lot of that is going to be left to you. If that's a problem for you, I would probably recommend looking, maybe at Acquire, maybe even at a broker. We're going to look at a couple of those later on in the video. But yeah, Flippa's level of service historically has not been that comprehensive. They really are more of a buyer and seller platform. With Acquire.com then and their level of service, they do put a bit more into it. And as you can see here, it kind of covers everything they do in terms of services for sellers. They are still a buy and sell platform, so it's important to be aware that you're not really getting that white glove brokerage service you might get elsewhere. But if we're just comparing Acquire and Flippa, Acquire is the clear winner here. It does provide a better level of service. And as I'm saying, when you factor pricing into account, it really does, because for a lot of sellers rather, it's working out cheaper anyway. And so the last specific point I wanted to cover in this video in terms of comparing Flippa and Acquire is privacy. Now, Flippa's privacy isn't that robust really. Listings are public by default. You can kind of see here how it comes up on the site. So there is an option to restrict your name and your URL. But typically what you'll get is listings like these as well, where you can see pretty much everything about the business. This kind of ties in with Flippa's whole selling point of reach. Because the name of the game with Flippa is to try and reach as many potential buyers as possible, they do kind of focus on that, just getting the name out and getting it out broadly and quickly and whatever. So if that's kind of what you want, then that's a good thing. If you want your business's kind of listing to be exposed to as many people as possible, as quickly as possible, then that's great. But if you do want to keep elements of your sale more private, or kind of, restrict the fact that you're selling from the public eye, then I wouldn't go with Flippa. I would probably go either with Acquire or somewhere else. Acquire.com handles privacy much more tightly than Flippa does. So NDAs are signed by default with Acquire.com. Buyers have to request access and sign an NDA before seeing details like your name or your domain or your financials or anything like that. You also get the chance to approve each buyer manually, which helps keep things discreet as well. And now this process does slow things down a bit, because there is more vetting involved and there's more confirmation of identities and all that kind of thing. So compared to Flippa, it does mean that sales typically are a little bit slower. But if privacy is a big factor for you, then you should be assured that Acquire does take it seriously and it will keep your details private. And as I was saying, if you do want to keep your sale private, if you don't want the whole world knowing that you're selling your business, this is an important factor to consider. So overall then, which is the better platform? Now I know I've given Acquire the nod in a lot of these categories, but the truth of it is it really does depend on where you're coming from and what your priorities are. If you have a relatively low value business that it's not a huge part of your portfolio and you just want to get it off your books quickly, Flippa is absolutely the best place to do that. It really gets sales over the line quickly because of its big network and because it doesn't spend a lot of time on vetting or anything like that. But Acquire for a lot of other categories of seller is probably a better option. As I was saying, it does offer better value for money. It offers a higher level of service. And you probably, overall, you're just getting more with Acquire, I think, than you're getting with Flippa. So if speed isn't your biggest priority, I would say that is, that Acquire probably is the way to go. And so as promised then, I'm going to finish out this video by looking at a few alternatives to Acquire and Flippa. And the first one I've gone for is a company that I'm a really big fan of and I've spoken about on this channel before. It's Quiet Light. Now Quiet Light are more on the white glove brokerage side of things. When you sign up and list your business with Quiet Light, you'll get a dedicated agent, and all of Quiet Light's agents have either bought or sold businesses themselves in the past. So you're getting someone who's really experienced. Also in terms of pricing, I think the max success fee you're going to be paying with Quiet Light is 10%, which is a really good deal. That's the same as it is with Flippa. And there's no fee until you win. So it's just, or there's no fee, sorry, until you sell your business. So it's just a success fee. So it works out really well in terms of money, and you are getting a really high level of service. The only thing I would flag is that it's not really for lower value businesses. They do tend only to deal with sale prices that are kind of $100,000 and up, but they're really effective in that range from about that $100,000 level right up to $5 and $10 million and even above in a lot of cases. So they really cater to a broad kind of mid-market segment. So yeah, I'm a big fan of them, big fan of everything they do. And if you are looking for a more white glove kind of brokerage style of service, I think Quiet Light provides a lot of great value. And so finally, we're going to look at Empire Flippers. Now, Empire Flippers market themselves as you can see here, a curated online business marketplace. What that means in practice is that they're somewhere kind of in between Flippa and Quiet Light on that spectrum. They're not a full service broker like Quiet Light, but they're not a kind of just buy and sell platform like Flippa's basic model is. There's a lot more curation there, and there are agents on hand to help you with certain features of the process if you do need that. It has a really large and highly engaged buyer base, and there's a lot of active marketing to that buyer base, which means you can get good deals done quickly. So there's a lot to like about Empire Flippers, but my main gripe with it is really the price. So it has a base commission of 15% on successful sales. There is a sliding scale for like marginal amounts over 700,000. Just works out to be a lot more expensive than most other platforms, and I just don't think they offer enough to justify that investment. So to kind of round this out, and I've kind of given this advice before on this channel, really what it's about is finding the company that works best for your business. It's finding the level of service that you need, thinking about how much experience you have, thinking about how confident you are, valuing your business and putting together your financials and marketing it and doing all that kind of thing. If you do need more help, it may be worth looking at, something like Acquire rather than Flippa, or even going down the route of a brokerage like Quiet Light either, if you do need that level of assistance. Business sales are tough, there's a lot to them, and you can end up leaving thousands and thousands of dollars on the table if you don't do it right. So it's worth putting a bit of thought into this and picking the right platform for your needs. But yeah, to conclude, I suppose best of luck to anyone who is trying to sell a business at the moment. I know it's an involved process and that there's a lot to it. So I hope it all goes well. And yeah, I'll see you all in the next video.